Anybody there? Anybody there? Anybody there? There we are. How's everybody? I'm excited to be here. Are you? Beautiful sunny Sunday. And this afternoon we won't be having our evening service because we're going to go to Fox Ridge. So everybody's welcome to come out to Fox Ridge. I know my wife was making potato soup yesterday. Spent all afternoon making potato soup. And I'm excited about that. And I know Howard made chili. And somebody else, you made some kind of tortellini, some soup, right? I don't know who else is bringing soup. Who's bringing the coffee? Is anybody bringing the coffee? Uh-oh. We had a breakdown here somewhere. Somebody's got to bring the coffee. Huh? What? God showed me? I'm bringing the potato soup. Thank you, Sam. God bless you, Sam. How many? Let's take a vote right now. Sam, bring the coffee. How many of you think? Huh? Let's take a vote. I need a motion on the floor. Second, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed, like sign. All right. So we're talking about the Antichrist today, and we've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks in Sunday school. And wow, interesting subject. There's a little bit in the Bible about it. Everyone wants to spend most of the time on the Antichrist because we're all curious about him, and that's our curiosity. That kind of we want to satisfy that curiosity a little bit. But there's just allusions to him. There's talk about him. 2 Thessalonians 2, he's called. It says he exalts himself as God. He's going to set himself up. And so we're going to try to wrap it up this morning. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, the last section of this, and I might have time for questions. I'll see if I haven't clarified everything. Ethan, how are you? Good to see you. And glad you're back for just today, huh? You just come back for the weekend. That's good. Good to see you. How's college treating you? You're passing? Barely, but yes. Haven't got too many demerits yet? No, that's good. Haven't kicked you out or anything yet, huh? Almost. Let's pray for Ethan. We need. All right. Is it Nicole? Is that right? It's your first time here. You guys make sure she feels welcome. It's good to have Nicole here as well. All right. Let's see here. Oh, I did want to tell you, in case you didn't notice, one of the kids noticed this No Shave November. Going to do that. It's only in the men in our family, not in the women. We've determined that. Only in the men. And I think Zach and Tristan started this morning, and so Ryan and I needed a little head start. And Ryan, we gave him a month already to start. But anyway, poor guy's not even in here to defend himself. All right. Yesterday, I'll say something more about it in church, but those of you that showed up, wow. There was so much work done at our new building down here. It was amazing. Thank you so much for the work. We've got probably, I would say at least twice as much done as we had anticipated, at least. And so, yeah, most of the junk is out of that building. And so, wow, what a blessing, what a good crew. We'll be letting you know when the next work day is. We'll try to finish cleaning up what we got out of there the next week. See where we're at before we start another work day. We've got some other stuff going on, but thank you so much for your support and help. It meant a lot to us to see that, and particularly Ryan. It kind of blew him away a little bit. He wasn't expecting that many people to show up, and the work that was done just amazing. Thank you so much. Gave us hope that we can stay on schedule with that, because we want to get that done by next fall and move in at least to one of the wings by next fall if we can for our Christian school. So thank you for that. Yesterday, somebody came up to me and said, if you have any students next year that cannot afford tuition, I'll pay for one for their tuition for the whole year. So that's a blessing, and we'll collect folks like that. And we'll do that. Kind of put together a scholarship for any kids that can't afford the school. That was huge. Somebody from the community Saw what was going on and stopped by and told me that. So, wow, what a blessing, huh? All right. So, we're going to talk now about the Antichrist. We're going to go back to the book of Daniel, Daniel chapter 9. And we were in Daniel 9 before. We're going to go to Daniel 11. We'll go back to Daniel 9 in a little bit. But this man of perdition, the Bible talks about him, that it says that there's going to come a time when he is going to step out. He's going to be a world leader, and he's going to try to unify the world. And when he does, basically, he's going to set himself up as God. And the Bible seems to indicate that the first thing he's going to do when he comes in, he's going to come in and he's going to set up kind of an agreement with God's people. And it looks like for 3.5 years, he's going to set up this agreement, this covenant with God's people. And when he does that, at the end of that 3.5 years, in the middle, we call it the middle of the 7 year. We spent a lot of time talking about this last week. Middle of the 7 years, there's going to be a 7-year period where he's going to be in power, as far as I can tell. In the middle of that 3.5, or that 7 years is a 3.5 year point, he's going to do away with anybody that has a relationship with God, and it looks like he will literally kill everyone who is not, who does not worship him. It is during that time period, you've heard of the mark of the beast. We'll talk about that a little bit this morning. I'll show you the scripture on it, where he's going to make sure everybody has a mark, maybe a vaccine card or something like that. But anyway, the mark, I don't know what it is, but the mark is going to be connected to a spiritual thing, honestly. And that mark, it says in the right hand or in the forehead. There's a lot of people that think that's a chip. I don't know what it is, honestly. But I will tell you, so the Bible says it's a mark in his right hand or in his forehead. And that mark is going to have documentation or something on it somehow that's going to determine that you can buy or sell. And if you don't have the mark in the middle of that tribulation period, you won't be able to buy or sell. Now, we can see the mechanism that being set up right now because as some of you know, I'm on the health board here in the county. We were having a meeting the other night, and there was a doctor in Coles County that's in California. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, and he said that out there where he is, that some of the restaurants, you cannot even go in and eat at the restaurant unless you have a card that shows that you've been vaccinated. So you have to have your vaccine card, and if you get the vaccine card, you can buy in a restaurant, but if you don't have the vaccine card, you can't. And there's a lot of people in America right now that are discussing this. If you have they're putting certain qualifications. If you have this, you can do this. If you don't, you can't. That mechanism has been catching. How do I say this? It's been getting bigger and bigger. And I think the Antichrist, when he comes in, we call him the Antichrist. When he sets up his kingdom, his authority, his presidency or whatever it is that he's going to have, his rulership, his dictatorial rulership, when he sets that up, he's going to have the mechanism already in place. Now, you guys remember maybe 100 years ago or 50 years ago or whatever, some of you might have been wondering how that would be possible because we get money and but you realize money has all now turned into numbers. You know that, right? And so they can come in and freeze your bank account. You know, we go to direct deposit, we do all this stuff, and all your money, a lot of times people don't even handle money at all. And so they can devalue the paper just like that, and money can be, all the mechanisms are in place right now for one world leader to seize all commerce. It's easy, it's really close to that. We can do that. They have the capabilities of doing it right now. So when it happens, don't be surprised. We won't have to be surprised at all because it's already set up for that to happen. So we're going to go back in the Bible and kind of look at some of this a little bit. Daniel chapter 11 is a prophecy. And it says here in verse 20, it's talking about the kingdoms. Of course, it has all these different kingdoms, talks about these different kingdoms. And verse 20 says, "Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom, but within a few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. The arms of a flood, that word flood, I find that in several prophecies about the end time. There's something about a flood that he's going to use. Verse 23, and after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people. He shall enter peaceably even upon the fattest places of the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey and spoil and riches, yea, and he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time. And he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army, and so on. Verse 26, yea, they that feed the portion of his meat shall destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and some shall fall down slain. And both of these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper, for yet the end shall be at the time appointed. Then shall he return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant, and he shall do exploits and return to his own land. At the time appointed he shall return and come toward the south, but it shall not be as the former of the latter, for the ships of Shittim shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. Verse 31 says, and arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries, but the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword and by flame, by captivity, by spoil many days. Now when they shall fall, they shall be holpen with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. And some of them of understanding shall fall to try them, to purge and to make them white, even to the end of into the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women. That phrase right there, some people think he might be homosexual. I don't know if that's true or not, but he's not going to exalt women, nor regard any god, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his state shall he honor the God of forces. A God of forces, that's interesting. And a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver, with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, shall divide the land for gain. And we're gonna stop right there. That is a little snapshot of what this Antichrist is going to look like. Let's go back real quick. Some of you, it's your first Sunday here. Several of you haven't been here for the last couple of weeks. So let me go back just for a little bit and talk about this. The Bible tells us in Daniel chapter 2, it explains how empires rise and fall. And it talks about the world empires. And it sets up Nebuchadnezzar as the king of Babylon, as the head of the world power. And in modern history, and pardon me, but some of the even Christian books have given us the idea that the world was always backwards until now, that we are the most advanced civilization at this time. Now, to be sure, in the last 100 years, there have been a lot of inventions, and the Bible tells us that in the end times, inventions will be increased. But make no mistake about it, this is not the greatest empire. America is not the greatest empire that's ever lived. Now, I'm thankful for America. Trust me. I'm thankful for what America has done for us and how much freedom we have. But as far as a world power, America has not been the strongest world power. I mentioned last week, Darius, the king of the Medes, sent 10,000 people he sent to every corner of the earth to figure out what was out there that was neat that he could bring back to his kingdom. 10,000. Now think about that. In our culture, we talk about Columbus. That's one Spanish explorer that traveled, and look what he found, one guy. Marco Polo, what did he do? He went to India. He brought us back spices. Those two guys that we know of. David Livingstone traveled across Africa, and he exposed to us many different wonders. And we can count on both hands the amount of explorers that really impacted our current culture. Darius the Mede had 10,000 people that he sent to all the corners of the earth and to bring back things. Think about it, using ships like Columbus did, using ships like Marco Polo did. The explorations were unbelievable during that time. Can I say that before Darius the Mede was Nebuchadnezzar? The Bible says that Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom covered the entire world. Some people will tell you, well, that was only the Mesopotamian world because that's the only world they knew. I beg to differ. When you come across America and you look in the Navajo cultures, the different Indian cultures that were here when we came to America, there was a lot of civilization over here. The Aztec cultures, there was some pretty detailed stuff going on back then. Mathematics and such. Some things that the Aztecs and the Incas and the Mayans, and they had some amazing civilization over here already, had been here for centuries. So what I'm saying is that the Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom expanded through the whole world, complete world. And when the Bible tells us that he was the head of gold in Daniel chapter 2. Then there was the kingdom was divided into two arms, the Media-Persia Empire, and that was called silver. And the silver, understand, is less value than the gold, right? Then the next kingdom was a brass kingdom, brazen brass, and that was the Grecian Empire at that time. Daniel 2 talks about all this. The Grecian Empire, Alexander the Great, you've heard about him. Okay, and then we have the Roman Empire, which divided into two legs. The Roman Empire was iron, represented by iron. Everybody knows that's the Roman Empire. It's talking about the Roman Empire. Then when you get down to the feet, you've got iron mixed with clay in Daniel chapter 2. And that is the empires that we see right now. There's 10 toes in that empire. It's not like America doesn't rule the whole world. Britain doesn't rule the whole world. China doesn't rule the whole world. Of course, all these guys want to, but they don't. The empire is divided up into 10. The world empire is divided into 10 parts. And this is iron mixed with clay. And we can see that we can see it ourselves because the Bible says that people are going to be melted together. Basically, we call it the melting pot. He said they're going to be brought together, but they're not going to cleave one to another. They're not going to get along. They're going to be living next to each other, but not get along. Boy, does that sound like today? Daniel chapter 2. It says that that last empire, iron mixed with clay, is going to be partly from the empire that was before it, which is the Roman Empire. And can I say to you that much of what we do in America is Roman? You can see it. It's easy to see. For those of you that haven't heard this before, we go over and over and over again to try to get it in our minds. This is how it is. Our language is Latin-based. So is every European language. If you want to learn a lot of languages, learn Latin, and you can learn a whole lot of European languages because Latin is the base for all of them. Latin is the Roman language. The days of our week, the months of our years are named after Romans, Roman gods, Roman emperors. July, August, named after Roman empires. These letters in my Bible this is Times New Roman print. It's Roman letters. We outline using Roman numerals, right? Our system of government is Roman. A Senate is Roman. Congress is Roman. Congress is also a group of apes, I think. But anyway, that's maybe it goes before Rome. But Roman, it's Roman, right? So the way we do things, the way we stand up and speak to each other, that's Roman culture. Even our holidays. Christmas is Roman. The Roman Catholic Church is dominant in this part of the world. Roman Catholicism, it's all rooted in Rome, the Empire of Rome, you see. So we're kind of half Rome, half something else. That's iron mixed with clay. But the prophecy was there in the book of Daniel that this is the way it was going to be, and here we are. But as I looked at it, I went back and studied ancient world history and so on, and I discovered that this is not the first time. We talked about this last week. This is not the first time there's been gold, silver, brass, iron, and iron mixed with clay. And I realized that every culture has gone through that same cycle. If you read in Genesis chapter 4, you'll find by the time we get to Genesis 4, they're down into brass and iron. By the time the flood came, I'm going to tell you something, they were probably in iron mixed with clay already. I've seen this in the American culture. The American government itself has gone through, the American dream, as it were, has gone through those same 4 stages. And just we talked about this. We originally started, our monetary system was a gold standard. It didn't take long and we went into silver. And then we went into brass plated with nickel. That's what our coins became. We went into iron and steel. Steel became dominant. And now half the cars in the parking lot here are iron mixed with clay. What's that? Well, glass is made out of sand. So it comes out of the ground. Plastic is made from stuff that comes out of the clay, out of the dirt, oils and those kinds of things. And our culture has become now plastic. So you go out there, Quentin, is it not true that some cars are made with steel and plastic now? It's iron and clay mixed together in one body. Think about it. That's where our culture is, which is really cool when you think about it. In another way, it kind of bothers you because that's the tail end of the empire. Iron mixed with clay is always the tail end. Now, having said all that, let's go back and let's see some things. We see that what we're seeing in our culture today is stuff that was predicted that is going to be in the end times. And whether this is the end times or not, I'm going to tell you there's some stuff that we're seeing that was definitely end times. Here's what the Antichrist, the final ruler that will be finally put down. In him, everything culminates. All empires, the gold, the silver, the brass, the iron mixed with clay, all that wraps up and points to the Antichrist, the world ruler, who's going to rule the world with his fist in the face of God. That Antichrist will be the final world ruler. What the Bible tells us, it talks about how he gets in. First of all, in his estate, it says this person is going to be vile, verse 21. He's not going to give honor to the kingdom. He's going to come in peaceably, and he's going to obtain the kingdom by flatteries. So how is the Antichrist going to win? He's not going to win by power. He's not going to win by a show of force. He's going to win by sweet talking everybody and telling them what they want to hear and giving them everything what they want. Oh, you want that? We'll give you that. Oh, you want that? We'll give you that. Oh, you want those things? We'll give you those things. Anybody that wants something, come to the table. It's a big tent. Right? That's how the Antichrist is going to get in. It says, with the arms of the flood shall they be overflown from before him and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. Look at verse 23. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully. So he's going to come in by flatteries. He's going to make a covenant. And I think he's going to make a covenant with everyone. And it says, he shall become strong with a small people. He shall enter peaceably upon the fattest places. I like this. He shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey and spoil and riches. What does that sound like? What does it sound like? Anybody recognize that? Josh, what's it sound like?
Our current times.
Yes. We could name a political party, couldn't we? Huh? So what's he doing? He said his fathers are not. See, let me just talk about economics for a minute. Economics is simply this: people work hard, they build things, and then when they expand, everything, like let's say a guy builds a business. When he builds a business, who benefits from that business? Well, the local community benefits from that business. People that need a job benefit from that business. So as that business grows, it gets bigger, more people come in and they work in that business. And do you ever wonder how somebody builds a skyscraper? You walk into Chicago and you see all these big buildings. How does that even happen? Do you know the millions and millions of dollars it takes to do that? And do you know how many thousands of people are in those buildings and they depend on the jobs that are in those buildings to give them their livelihood? Well, let's just go, the guy that builds those buildings, let's just go take off 50% of his money. Just take 50% of it and give it to the government. That's what they're suggesting right now. Well, he's got plenty of money. He doesn't need any more. What's he going to do with another $1 million? Well, here's the thing. I'm going to tell you what he's going to do with another $1 million. He'll build another skyscraper. Huh? He builds another skyscraper. How many people can he employ? Thousands. So who all gets the benefit? Everybody that wants to work a job. But see, what they're telling us now is what we need to do is tax these guys. Why? Take away more of their money. They don't need all that money. Give it to the government. Why? Well, because the government needs to give it to who? People that don't want to work. Right? So people sit at home and they collect their checks. And now they're talking about, how many of you guys know what they're doing now with, let's say, the EIC credit? They're giving people, $300 a month per child now. People are getting checks, $300 a month. Well, that's kind of nice right now. Of course, when it comes tax time, you'll find out that they didn't actually give you the money. But anyway, what's interesting is they're taking money from people who create jobs and giving it to people who are not working. And then they're bringing in people from other countries who are not investing in our countries, but we're just handing out money right and left, distributing. Look what it says here. He shall enter peaceably, verse 20, on the fattest place of the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey, spoil, and riches. Yea, he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time. I've heard this before. Guy comes in and says, well, I work harder than the boss does. How come he gets all the money and do you realize how many people he's taking care of? How many families depend on his company? I agree that sometimes you need to, it ought to be fair. A good boss is fair. But you know what? There are good bosses and there are bad bosses. Always has been. There are good bosses that pass on their savings, that give bonuses. You've heard of that, right? If they do really good through the year, they say, well, we made a bunch of extra, so we're going to give bonuses to all the people that work so hard in the factory, right? But what's happening is, this guy, this Antichrist, he's going to come in, and the way he's going to win the hearts of everyone is by giving them money, taking care of them, anything they want. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to vote for all of his programs. Because at the end of the day, they don't really care about the culture. All they care about is getting from this week to the next week to the next week to the next week. Okay? That's really bad economics. Really bad economics. Because I was up at the hospital the other day. I was talking to some of the administration. We were discussing some things, and I said to them, Have you ever heard of the story about the goose that laid the golden egg? And this one lady, who's probably not much younger than me, she said, never heard of it before. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. No, never heard of that story. The Aesop's Fables and Hans Christian Andersen. I went home and I got on Amazon and I bought a Hans Christian Andersen book just because I thought, I don't even have one in my library. And people don't even know about these stories anymore. The one like the story of the emperor and his new clothes. She'd never heard of it before. I'm like, what are they teaching kids these days? But these are all character stories. Remember that? Remember the character story about the goose that laid the golden egg? Remember that? Huh? So the kid has this goose, and this golden egg is laid every day, and he takes that golden egg and he goes and sells it or buys what he needs, and he comes back. One day he's got greedy. He said, boy, that goose is holding out on me. I bet he's got more golden eggs in there. So he cuts the goose open, kills the goose. That's exactly what a certain party that will remain unnamed, a certain political party in our country is doing right now. They're killing the goose. Huh? That's what the Antichrist is going to do. He's going to distribute that money, but of course most of it's going to stick in his pockets. Because what he's going to do is build an empire. He's going to take that money. Hello? Anybody watched a certain bartender's finances go through the roof? She was a bartender just living on tips, and suddenly she's got a big townhouse and she's walking around with, $35,000 dresses on and stuff, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You guys know, you heard about that certain bartender out there on the east? She represents a certain part of some city in New York, some little city out there. It doesn't have anything to do with the Midwest. Isn't anything like us. Doesn't like us. We don't like them, right? So you go on saying, look at these people that have gotten to politics and become millionaires. Isn't that interesting? Huh? All of that's going on because, see, when they distribute to the poor, what they're doing is they're collecting all the money, they're skimming it and giving away enough to make everybody that's poor feel like, oh, they care about me. But all the while, they're taking it from the goose, killing the goose, and they're putting it, they're stockpiling it because they have an agenda. What is that agenda? To maintain control. And that's what it says here. That's exactly how he's going to work. He shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south of the great army. Yea, the feet of the portion of his meat shall destroy him, his army shall overflow. Both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief. Okay, skip down here. Verse 33, they that understand among the people shall instruct many, but they're going to fall by the sword, by the flame, by captivity, by spoil. Some of them, verse 35, understand, shall fall, to try them to purge, to make them white, even at the time of the end, because it is yet for time appointed. The king shall do according to his will. He shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods. Now, I'm gonna make a comment here. You guys go with me. Some of you are differing opinions of what I'm going to say. But when President Trump came into office, I was kind of worried. I'll tell you why I was worried. I was watching him because he was coming in. I always thought he was a pragmatist. And Trump doesn't need any more haters here, so I'm not a hater. I mean, I voted for him, okay? But I liked what he did in America. Trust me, I liked what he did. But what I was worried about, I was waiting for the shoe to drop. Because I know he's a pragmatist. I knew he was a Democrat. I knew he'd switched parties. And I was wondering what he was after, because he had said several years ago, he said, when I know how to become the president, I know how to win. And I know he knows how to win because what he was doing was courting the conservative vote. He courted the financial vote, and he courted the conservative vote, and I wasn't sure who he was looking out for. I'm just telling you my opinion. This is totally my opinion. So I was watching him come in with flatteries, and he was meeting with all these conservative leaders, and I found out he was getting Christian advisors, and I was looking at who his Christian advisors were. I hope I don't offend anybody, but Paula White, seriously? Seriously? You know, if we're really going to be conservative, call Dan Hafley. You know what I'm saying? Not Paula White. Come on. Who is he going? He was going after churches that were rolling in money. And those are the ones, and politically it was a good move. Trust me. But I'm like, okay, so he's saying all the right stuff. He's holding up his Bible and talking about 2 Corinthians and stuff. Read 2 Corinthians. I was like, this guy's not even familiar with the Bible. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad. I believe that anyone can get saved and changed. I honestly, in my heart, hope that's what happened to President Trump. And I watched him talk to us and make covenants and promises to Christians. And I wondered in my heart, how serious is he? I'm watching it. You know what I'm saying? Is he really for real? I was just holding my breath. And I'm going to tell you, when the Antichrist comes in, he's going to use that tactic. He's going to tell Christians, he's going to tell religious people, he's going to tell everybody exactly what they want to hear. Sometimes when somebody tells you exactly what you want to hear, they got a hidden agenda. Right? So I was worried about him. I was worried. There was a lot of things about him that wasn't the Antichrist, but boy, there was some stuff that looked like him. And I'm telling you, Joe Biden, just so we're comfortable here, Joe Biden doesn't look like the Antichrist at all. In fact, he doesn't even look like a president. So, we go to that. So, I'm not saying, but the Democratic Party is using the same tactics as the Antichrist is. Let me show you something. Go back to chapter 9 of Daniel. This is what you need to understand more than anything else. Watch this. Verse 26. After 62 weeks, that's 3.5 years, that's halfway through, right? Shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people, look at this phrase, the people of the prince. The people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and sanctuary. The people of the prince, not the prince. Who's the prince? The prince is the Antichrist. It's the people of the prince that are coming in and do a lot of things. What I want you to see is this. Go back to 2 Thessalonians. Again, we opened with this a couple weeks ago. And it doesn't look like I'm getting anywhere close to where I want to be today. But anyway. Because I still want to get to 666 and I'm not going to have time. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. It says here in verse 3, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. That's talking about the Antichrist. Verse 4, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. See that? So this is the Antichrist. He's exalting himself as God. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things, and now ye know that what holdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. Verse 7, for the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken away. Out of the way. He who now, okay, so the mystery of iniquity doth already work. That's the people of the prince. Does that make sense? What I'm saying is, when Adolf Hitler rose to the scene with a small people, there was stuff about Adolf Hitler that looked like the Antichrist. And guys back in those days were preaching, this is it, buddy, this is it. We're on our way out. And because Adolf Hitler was a small people, he overtook the kingdom by flatteries, and all of a sudden this guy blows up and becomes this world figure. Even Time Magazine made him Man of the Year. I wonder if they've ever apologized for that. Anyway, probably not. So you think about it, all of these people have little pieces of the Antichrist. Why? Because they're the people of the prince. See? The mystery of iniquity doth already work. Who is stopping the mystery of iniquity from taking over? Us. He who now letteth shall let until he be taken out of the way. I talked about this a couple weeks ago. He who now letteth. Letteth is it's a tennis word. It's used old English word. Means stop, hinder. If you serve the ball, Brad told me afterwards, I wasn't quite exactly right. When you serve the ball and it hits the top of the net and the ball falls into play area, that's called a let. And you can serve it again, and you can do it as many times as you want to. If it keeps doing that, you can just keep serving because that net kind of stops it and drops it in play, but it can't really be played, so that's called a let. So what's happening basically is there's a net. The Antichrist or the devil is trying to serve this situation up, and he keeps hitting something. Now the ball falls into play still, so he gets to serve again, and he just keeps after it, keeps after it, keeps after it, keeps after it, keeps. You ever feel like evil never stops? Never gives up, does it? That's the way it is. Who's stopping evil? We are. That's why Christians should not sit on their hands and be silent. Christians should be vocal. We should step up. We should shout out. We should say, no, that's not going to happen. No. Not going to happen. Not on my watch. Because we're hindering. Until God says, okay, it's time for this to be over with. And we call it the rapture of the church. And we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. And he takes us out of the way. When he takes us out of the way, the beginning, then the Antichrist is going to be completely in full power, and he's going to set up his kingdom. He will start in the kingdom, the beginning, he'll start by giving flatteries. Some people get confused about will people get saved during the tribulation. I want to tell you, in the first 3.5 years of the tribulation, people will still be getting saved. I believe there will still be books left around. There will still be Bibles left around. There will still be opportunity. Some people will still get saved. The church as we know it will be done. In 3.5 years, this building right here, if the Lord called us home today, in 3.5 years, this building will be used to worship the world leader. That building over there will be used to worship the world leader. Okay? It will. Guaranteed. Unless this thing falls down. Maybe the Lord will let us torch it as we go out. Huh? I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Every building that's Christian in name will be used to worship the world leader, whoever that becomes. He will set himself up as God. He will cause, in the middle of the tribulation, he will cause the sacrifice to cease. I believe the testimony of Jesus Christ will be ended at that point. Anybody that he catches that has the name of Christ will be executed. The Bible talks about they'll be beheaded. I'm like, well, that sounds ancient. Interestingly enough, I've heard tales that one of our former presidents, not too far back, distant, made a contract and purchased a whole bunch of guillotines for the United States. And I'm like, what? And they have them now. We have them now. Stockpiled somewhere. Why? So anyway, because the Bible says in the 3.5 years, in the middle of the tribulation, anybody that names the name of Christ will be beheaded. Will be beheaded for the name of. Isn't that interesting? All of that's being set up. Let me tell you something. All of the pieces for the Antichrist to be in power is already in place today. The mechanism to put a mark that you cannot buy or sell without the mark, it's already in place right now. The only one stopping it's us. Let me wrap this up by this comment. In Matthew chapter 5, the Bible tells us to be salt. Okay? Salt. Salt does not stop the decay. Salt slows down the decay. Back in those days, early days of Rome, when that was being talked about, a lot of times Roman soldiers would be given salt as their salary, hence the name salary. That's where salary comes from. It's Latin, and it means salt. Okay? Loosely. So it has to do with salt. And they would give salt to a Roman soldier as his pay. The reason why they did that was because a Roman soldier could go out in the wintertime, he would hunt, and he would get deer, and the more salt he had, the more he could preserve his meat. Frankly, if somebody brought me a piece of meat that a Roman soldier 2,000 years ago had preserved with salt, I would not eat it. I've had a few Jack Link's pieces of meat like that I'm not sure a Roman soldier might have had his hand on. But the truth is, I would not have done that. Why? Because salt doesn't stop the decay of meat. It only slows it down. Understand? You are salt. You aren't going to stop this decay. It's going to happen. But you can slow down decay, and that's what you're supposed to be doing in your culture. When you see something that looks like, hey, boy, the Antichrist, the people of the prince are around, stand up and stop it. Do everything you can to stop it. Slow it down. Right? Make sense? All right. Better take a break, get some coffee. I was going to let you ask questions, but too much to say, right?